Good evening, White Sox fans, and welcome to the latest edition of Future Sox podcast, Hot Takes and Heaters. Tonight is Wednesday, February the 11th, and as usual, my name is still Danny Miller. My co-host, who will be gracing your screens and the airwaves and your tickling your eardrums tonight, more often than not, is the guy that you always hear, is Jacob Thome. How you doing tonight, Jacob?
Good. We're hanging in there, so no complaints there on that
Yes,
point. And
got
yeah,
it.
no, we had to get back to usual, and yeah, excited to be back.
Yeah, it is good to be back. The one thing that I'm really happy for right now, and maybe my sleep patterns aren't happy for it, but we did switch to daylight savings over this past weekend, and man, up until I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes ago or so, it was still light outside, and that only means only one thing: weather's getting better. Which you said last week. We talk about the weather almost every week here, especially with the storms that rolled through. Downstate last night, yesterday evening. But the great thing about that is the weather's going to get better, and the days are getting longer, and that just means that White Sox baseball is getting closer. Meaningful White Sox baseball is getting closer, and that's really why we're here.
That is the whole point of this thing. Contrary to popular belief, that's what we're here to do. Not talk about the weather, but yeah, no, scary situation last night. Hope for everybody in Kankakee is all right and other surrounding areas. Yeah, that one was gnarly. So
How was it in Taylorville for you?
Not bad. So we
Good.
we didn't get anything severe, which is good because I actually worked with the radio station. So I actually, if there was a tornado warning last night, I would have had to wake up, drag myself out to the couch, and do a broadcast live. So yeah, there's
And
that.
look, my wife in the chat.
Yeah. By the way, I moved the
OMG,
mic, and then two
Jake has
people,
a
the
face.
first two people. What happened to my mic? And yeah, and, I do have a face. I promise. Um, It is here all the time. I have cleaned my desk for now. I do work at this desk sometimes, so sometimes it gets a little crowded. But we've got the whole setup actually working too. Hopefully, it's best proportions tonight.
Right on. You know what? I'm kind of digging it. You're clean shaven. You're looking good. We don't have that foul pole in your face tonight.
It's right
So,
here. I could at any point right there. Always a threat.
nah, you know what? We kind of like this look. I mean, I know I do. But anywho, shout out to David, Rocca, and Wolf. Good to see you guys in the chat. You know, David, we haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to have you back. Wolf, always a pleasure, and of course, my wife. I got to give her a shout out. The rest of our chatters, I'm sure a lot of you guys seem to pop in a few minutes late. Maybe they don't want to listen to our banter.
Is
So
Toss not here yet? No,
no, Toss isn't
yeah,
here.
must be watching
Ted's not
baseball.
here.
That
James
was late last
Hesterman
week.
isn't here. Like, there's a lot of guys that aren't here, and I think it's just they get tired of our banter. So, having said that, we've been doing this thing. We've been doing this segment for the last couple months now, getting this bingo card put together, and we've been inviting guests on. And I have in our green room tonight a familiar face for longtime watchers of Hot Takes and Heaters. He is the original co-host of Hot Takes and Heaters with me, the guy that drove the bus for quite a while, and the guy that was very good at pushing my buttons, to say the least. So, in honor of him, I'm going to go ahead and just start with a heater tonight because he knew how to do that. Hopefully, we can get him to drop his signature catchphrase at some point, the single word catchphrase that he is so well known for. But he is my former co-host and my friend, Nick Murawski of Good Guys Talk Back. Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Oh my goodness. It is great to see you guys. Danny,
This heater for you, buddy.
I I appreciate it. Oh my God. I thought we were gonna kill you the year that we were doing this program because the way the team was playing and the way, we were doing some of those games or some of those shows right after a game would be ending. And, no shocker, they were losing, you know, their typical fashion because they blew a save or something. And my goal was always to get you to smoke 2 heaters at a time, but I don't know if we ever got that or not. But boy, it's great to see you guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man. And you know what? I don't think we ever got to 2 heaters, but I do remember a show or three that I seem to be just chaining them up one right after the other. I think when we originally started this, we had a heater counter going, and we broke the counter, dude. Like it just stopped one day. It's no longer there. It couldn't keep up. So
Well, we
thank
had
you for that.
people in the chat were keeping tallies. they were keeping you honest on how many that was, because I lost track, and we would start getting on about Pedro Grifol this, and oh my goodness, those were long. That was a long season, but man, we had some fun.
Yeah, we absolutely did. And I see David is in the chat, and he's talking about. Sounds like he's going to give us a bingo square or two. David, we are probably going to put a list of some of the suggested squares that we've gotten on Twitter or here in the chat together. We might put a poll together once we start filling this thing up. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're gonna reveal a bunch of them tonight. It is filling up rather quickly. We do have a few more that we're gonna get. We're definitely gonna get one from Nick tonight. And then, when we come down to it and we get down to the last couple, we'll probably put a Twitter poll out and have everybody vote on what they want to be the last one or two. And, if you throw it out there at us, we'll be more than happy to add that to the list. So, and that goes for everybody else in the chat or anybody that's listening. You can always drop Jacob or myself a DM or hit one of the pinned tweets on the bingo card you can find that pinned on my page, or you can find it on the FutureSox page as well somewhere. I'll be retweeting it a bunch here because we are getting pretty close to the season. So having said that, I'm gonna actually give, obviously Nick and I know each other fairly well. We did this thing together for a full season, and we spent some time together in the off season before that. So but for those of the folks that don't know who you are, maybe haven't been following FutureSox, Hot Takes, and Heaters during your time, why don't you let everybody know who you are and how you kind of got into this and what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's so great seeing all these White Sox podcasts that have been popping up over the years, and this is I'm going into my 8th season doing Good Guys Talk Back, believe it or not. And the podcast I started with Pat Hester came out of that off season where we were supposed to get Manny Machado and Bryce Harper. So that was maybe 2018. Does that sound right? 2017, something like that.
I believe it was the 2018.
Yeah.
We're going into the 2018 season, maybe. Yeah.
A lifelong Sox fan, multi-generation, parents Sox fans, grandparents Sox fans. My little boy, he's almost 4 years old now. He's got no choice. He has been baptized as a White Sox fan. And I was in college 1,000 years ago. I was a broadcasting major, and I did TV and radio, and I had a bunch of fun there. And it didn't really do much with it after. And my path went a different way into education. But, when podcasting became so accessible, equipment relatively inexpensive, and, my wife was just tired of hearing my White Sox rants. She's like, you got to talk to somebody. You need to get some help because I can't hear all of this stuff anymore. And this was at the beginnings of like the rebuild after we got Yohan Moncada and Giolito, and we're adding Jimenez, and the future is bright, right? Hawk is predicting the White Sox to be in multiple ALCSs. Anyway, I said, you know what? Let's do this. And I think there's room for another Sox podcast, and I was just also so fed up with, AM radio, and, you just weren't hearing anything about the Sox. And I didn't blame them. It's a Bears town, and the Sox were horrible at that time. and nothing has changed all these years later. We had a couple blips here and there, but it is Bears, it's Cubs, and so it's like I want to hear a fan perspective. There's got to be other people that are bothered by a lot of the things that are going on and think the way I think, perhaps. So that really took me into podcasting, and I've had a blast with it. Eventually doing Locked On White Sox, and Danny, you and I with FutureSox, which, by the way, what a time to be with FutureSox right now, because you have got so many young studs, excitable guys that are not only starting their adventure with the White Sox at 35th and Shields, but this season we're going to see so many. Here we are 8 years later or so, and I've gotten to meet so many people. Made so many connections. Sometimes social media is an absolute hellhole, and you want
Oh, it's
nothing.
a toilet.
It is. However, I have met some great, genuine people, through X and Twitter before that, and connecting with Sox fans in ways that I just wouldn't have otherwise. And so I am just excited to talk Sox at any point. Excited for the season. I'll be out there in Milwaukee for the opening, and then I'll be out there for the home opener. So hopefully, talking and rubbing shoulders with more Sox fans.
Yeah, I will be at the home opener. I'll be in Milwaukee, but it won't be until the Sunday game.
Okay.
But I will definitely be out there for the home opener. I'd love to have an opportunity to run into you,
Yeah.
again.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a minute, but maybe I'll recycle some of those old pictures of some past FutureSox home opening games.
Light up a couple
what a good time.
stars and hopefully celebrate a White Sox winner.
Wolf gives a shout out to Nick.
Yep. Good to see you, Wolf. It's this kind of stuff is a labor of love. We're doing this because we love this team. It's ingrained in us, and we just again, even during those very lean years, and we're not out of the woods yet, but in those lean years where it really felt absolutely rudderless, directionless with Pedro Grifol, this is my team. I still wanted to talk about them. I still enjoyed it. It was difficult in those, February, January months, but I'm seeing light. I've got hope. And again, I don't know what's going to happen after this season, right? All signs point to some pretty bad things and no baseball. So I am going to enjoy the hell out of this season, every single moment, because I don't know what's going to happen after this year.
Jake, you all right there?
Yeah, I have a lamp that I use, and it is not. I guess touchscreen's the word, but it's not a screen. I don't know, touch censored, and it's just I don't know, reset. All right, anyway, I'm back to being not distraction. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay. No, you're good. I was actually gonna, just kind of piggyback off of what Nick was saying there, and about how, Nick and I went through some of the dark days of White Sox baseball. I mean, when he talked about it being a grind, I mean, there were weeks where we were trying to figure out, I mean, during the season with live baseball and catching the last couple innings of a game live, watching them blow, games late, and thinking maybe we were going to come away with a win, and epic failure after epic failure, and they found new ways to lose constantly.
Oh yeah.
But we made it work, and I thought he was trying to. I was about to say, I already had a heater going. You didn't have to. You have to bring up all the Grifol and the Eloys and the Luis Roberts and the Moncadas, thinking we were going to go, deep into playoff runs, consecutive years. I was like, I'm already smoking, Nick. What are you doing to me here?
Yeah.
But Jacob gets to kind of come in here. Last season was not, exactly easy. We got through that one too. But now that we've got a little bit of rapport together, and like you said, we're looking at moving into a new era of White Sox baseball, hopefully. We thought that last time around, but how do you feel about that, Jake? You feel like you came in at a good time? You feeling pretty good about working through this season coming up?
Yeah, I mean, last year was weird, right? The first half sucked. Second half was a lot better though. I mean, once they got the Jacob Amayas of this world out of there, um, it improved. By the way, we talked a lot about the 2023 season, and for the listeners who maybe are unfamiliar, Danny, would you like to give your win total that you predicted at the
Uh,
beginning of that season for anybody who had forgotten or would just love a lovely reminder,
I
which
was
I'm sure
actually
we'll
waiting
do it
for
again
Nick
here
to
soon.
throw that one at
Oh,
me because he was here for it, and he let me. He reminded me of it almost weekly. Between him and Ian, I don't know. It was almost a meme at one point, but yeah, I threw out 74. That was that was my trying to be optimistic, and I even said I'm being optimistic. I didn't really expect 74, but Lord knows I didn't expect 41.
mm, 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 mm. Man,
So
41, 40. You got to sometimes repeat it, to because it just doesn't seem real. 41. Oh my God.
Yeah, 121 in that last column is just
Yeah.
it's a I don't know. It doesn't like you said, it doesn't feel real. I don't know. It just there's not really words for it. It's
no,
scary. It's almost
as a,
scary.
as a matter of fact, if we can, I would not like to not relive that as much as possible here. And
Oh,
like I
that's the
said,
rest of the show. So
oh, I'm scarred. I mean, Nick was brought it up, like I said, weekly. I
rightfully
have
so.
some trauma.
It was in the chat too, though, Danny. People
It
they were
it
letting
was.
you they were letting you wear that, and it just was a running gag. Because there was optimism, and maybe we were trying to will it as Sox fans, and then when the rubber, hit the road, there it was like, yeah, that's right. This team is not built. This is just not built at all to succeed.
No, not at all. But hopefully, like I said, it seems like there is a new era. We've heard Chris Getz talk about building a new foundation,
Hmm.
right? That's been his go to this offseason was getting the foundational things right, and I think a lot of that goes towards what we've talked about in the past with the hiring of more staff, having a larger number of staff available to all of your players. We look at spring trainings past where we had heard about guys who were not going to make the MLB club that were practicing on the backfields, and there was no practice happening because all of the coaching staff and all of the trainers and all of the people that were there in camp were focused on the MLB team, where these guys weren't starting practices until mid afternoon, which is ridiculous. I mean, you go down to spring camp and the backfields are bumping with players all over Arizona and Florida. And the White Sox aren't even getting their backfields going until mid afternoon. It was kind of shocking to hear about that. But they did add members to the staff. They added members to their excuse me, to the analytics staff. Apparently, there's been some changes in the training and the training staff and the strength and conditioning staff, which hopefully means there's going to be, less of these injuries around. But the elephant in the room right now is what we saw last night in the World Baseball Classic, in a game where Italy was handily beating up on the United States, and we'll get into some of that discussion too, as why many people think that might have been the issue, why Italy was so handily beating the United States. But during that game, we saw White Sox. Well, a lot of people think might be the best catcher on in the organization and on the roster, Kyle Teel, legging out a double after hitting a 3-run bomb earlier in the game. Pulls up halfway between second and third with an apparent hamstring injury, and it comes out today that it was, in fact, a grade 2 hammy strain. What do you guys think about that? It's like we can't seem to get past what these hamstrings and adductors and these leg injuries that plague the White Sox. So, what do you guys think of that injury? And I'll start with you, Jacob. But what do you think of this injury? And where do you feel the fallout kind of lands on this thing?
Yeah, there was a video over the off season of Kyle Teel getting some training in, and he was doing some bizarre exercises to his legs. I don't know how to explain them. It was just like almost like an elliptical, but it was locked and then it became unlocked. So he was just shooting his leg back as hard as possible. And I'm not blaming it on that, but it was certainly an odd routine, and certainly it kind of looks weird when the guy comes up with a hamstring. I mean, it's an unfortunate injury. Obviously, I do think it's not a positive for the White Sox, but it does open an opportunity for catcher too. The Sox have multiple uh, solid options, whether it's Drew Roma, who's more of a defensive guy, or Corey Lee, who's hit the ball pretty well this spring. Um, there are those two that are going to get an opportunity. Obviously, Lee was thought to be traded in the offseason. That didn't happen, like many others. So, yeah, I think it opens up an opportunity for these guys. Hopefully, Teel. The issue now with Kyle Teel is, you can't rush him back. I think you have to allow him to just let it heal fully and kind of resume the season from where he needs to resume it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, what do you think? Does this feel like deja vu?
It's unfortunate, but this is kind of the cost. Of, just this is how it is. I do not blame World Baseball Classic. I am not hating on World Baseball Classic. Um, I was he playing in a more aggressive way than he might have been on a spring training game? Probably. Is he more amped because of that big stage? Yes. The soft tissue stuff. It is what it is. I mean, I am a Edgar Caro guy. I like Teel. I'm glad Teel is around, but Edgar Caro is my guy. I'm looking forward to seeing him. And even before the Teel injury, I really wanted Edgar Caro to take the lion's share. But it was so nice to have this problem that we haven't had, and not in my lifetime, where we've got two really great. I should say great because they still need to kind of prove themselves, but two guys that have such an upside, right? In backstops. It's 2 to 4 weeks. He's going to miss a couple weeks. He'll be back in April. To Jacob's point, you don't need to rush him. April and even May, really cold months. That's not good for soft tissue issues. Like, that could pose a problem with some of the terrain, especially when you play Cleveland and it's snowing. I don't want a guy that's got a tender hamstring, even if he's cleared to play, running around. I think they need to have a hot start out of the gate if they're going to do anything or, give people hope at all. So April and May is critical, but in the grand scheme of things, don't need to rush a Kyle Teel. But I'm not heartbroken. I do not think this is this is just a thing that the White Sox, it happens to everybody. It really does. It's just a damn shame that we're starting to get very excited about a Kyle Teel, and he's going to start the season on the shelf.
Yeah, and to your point there, I mean, I think when you kind of factor in this, I know the chat's going crazy about time. I think 2 to 4 is right when it comes to actual missed time in the season.
Yeah, exactly. 4 to 6
so,
probably, but in terms of missing games, probably 2 to 4.
Yeah, so and I'm looking at what's going on in the chat here, and I'm just gonna let you guys know, like, so I'm seeing 8 to 12, and David is basically saying that he asked the internet, and that's what he came up with, and that's David Barista, not David Rocca, by the way. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was David.
So you got that
Rocca.
mixed up.
That was David Rocca that said it. David Barista also saying 8 to 12. Oh no, he's asking if it was detached. So here's the thing. What happened today was Chris Getz actually came out and said that they're still evaluating, but the timeline that he put out right now was 4 to 6 weeks. Now, typically a grade 2 is obviously everybody was hoping it was grade 1. Grade 2 is a little bit nastier. Grade 2 is actually what kept Luis Robert Jr. out for the better part of the second half of last season. Now, granted, Kyle Teal's a little bit younger. Hopefully, he's in the right shape and the right state of mind to be able to recover from this thing right away. But again, like Nick points out, the White Sox don't really need to push this thing. So if it goes longer than 4 to 6 weeks, even if it goes 8 to 12 weeks, early in the season when it's cold like this, it's probably better not to push this. They do have a plethora of serviceable catchers in the organization, including, we could talk about Drew Romo, who's another guy who doesn't get brought up a lot because you do have Edgar Carroll, you do have Kyle Teel, you do have Corey Lee, who's having an amazing spring, by the way. The guy's he's been lighting it up. He's been hitting the cover off of the ball. So, in my opinion, if 4 to 6 weeks is light on what Chris Guess is saying, or if it's 2 to 4, even like Nick is possibly saying, I think I would probably go on the heavier end of rehab, just to make sure that this kid is, ready to go. I feel like some of our other players that have gone through these hamstring issues were brought back a little too soon, and they weren't quite ready. We saw it a couple of years ago with Luis Robert Jr. and Eloy Jimenez not running, ground balls out in the infield. Now, granted, it's a Major League Baseball, and 96% of the time, or whatever it is, 97% of the time on average, like a ground ball is going to be an easy out, right? You don't have to necessarily bust it down the base pass. And those guys caught a lot of flack during that time for, not having enough heart and not, quitting on plays, right? They were quitters. They weren't playing all with 100% all the way through. And I don't really think that's necessary to even have to worry about with a guy like Kyle Teel when you have the depth that you have. Chris Getz said that catching was a commodity. It was like gold, right? And he's held on to these guys even when the whole world was clamoring for a trade of one or the other.
I mean, didn't Boston want him back in a major way this offseason too? I think there were there were a lot of people, and I might have been in that camp for a while. Of like, hey, if we need pitching, let's get Caro or Teel out of here. And boy, I am so glad they didn't.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Jake. I mean, if you got something you want to add.
No, I mean, that was it. I will also say, like, hamstrings have got to be, particularly tough on catchers, just because, like, that's not a comfortable position, I would assume, for a catcher with a hurt hammy. So I would assume he potentially comes back as a DH for a little bit. Obviously, he'll return to catching this season. But even if they have to ease him in using the DH, I wouldn't be shocked to see that. But yeah, certainly I think it makes it a little bit more tricky just because he is a catcher.
Yeah, you're just not going to get out of a spring training or a season without injuries. Expect it. Expect there to be problems. I mean, I hate to say it in that way, but you're really setting yourself up for failure as a fan if you're thinking everything's going to be perfect. It's not. Guys are going to get dinged up, and I think he's going to be better for it, to be honest with you. Again, I'm not someone that wants to cancel the World Baseball Classic for this. It very well could have happened in a Cactus League game. It's just the way it is.
And I think fans are tough. I mean, I think fans think that their team always gets the worst of injuries. Like, I think Sox fans think that the Sox are cursed. I don't think if you compare them to other teams that they're that bad. I mean, they're in the bottom half, but I don't think they're that bad in terms of injuries. I just think because Sox fans, and every team's fan does this, pays so much attention to their team. I don't know if they necessarily realize that, like, yeah, this is just part of baseball. These guys are high-level athletes, and sometimes your body's not built for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, it's really – it just comes down to the fact that they do have that depth that they'll held on to. And eventually there will come a time where, you're not going to be able to carry all these catchers that gets picked up. Would seem like every available catcher on the market last offseason, right? But in the end, it's a good thing that we do have these guys and they are playing well right now. You'll be starting the season with Edgar Carroll, which, like Nick, and I know a lot of us at FutureSox feel like he still might be the better of the two between him and Kyle Teel. I happen to be one of those. And then the other thing is like, Drew Romo again doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's a very solid. He's a very solid guy. He'll be on the 40 man, and he will probably be ready to come up in the wings when it happens. But the reality is like you said, these things are going to happen. They're going to happen quite often. There's going to be times when maybe we overvalue guys at the same time. So when we talk about trades like we did a little bit ago, Jake talking about how other teams kind of get overlooked by fans of the fan base. It's just you never know what the value is that you have in the guy unless you actually go and take a look around at the entire league. So, having said that, I do want to kind of move on because I don't want to chain smoke all night long. I'm already on number 2. So,
Good Lord.
yeah. But I did see it come up in the chat that Team Italy is beating up on Mexico right now. Is that what I'm saying? If somebody can give me a score update, that would be awesome. But
It was 5-0.
so yeah, and that's big because as of last night, Team USA taking that loss to Italy, which some folks are calling a major blunder from head coach of Team USA, Mark DeRosa. Saying that before the game, he had stated that Team USA had already paved their way to the semifinals and already clinched a spot in the semifinals, and then he proceeded to rest half of his lineup and his biggest bats. I would say the blunder was probably on the pitching staff more than anything, but yeah, Team Italy and Sam Antonacci is leading off tonight, so. I know Jacob actually wanted to. Man, everybody's here tonight. JT, good to see you, buddy. We've got Trey in the chat. Trey was one of our biggest regulars when Nick was on the show.
Yeah,
Trey
absolutely.
still pops in from time to time. He's just not around as much anymore. I guess he doesn't like Danny as much as he liked Nick. So, Uncle Ted says the score is 7-1, but. Anywho, I brought this up because I know that Jacob wanted to talk a little bit about White Sox players and their performances in the World Baseball Classic. So why don't you go ahead and kick that off for us, Jake? Oh, it's now 8-1.
Now it's 9-1, actually.
9-1. Wow, that's happening fast. Okay, so
Yeah.
And really quickly, I'm going to answer one question before you get into that. David Barista asks if USA is in or out. If Team Italy wins this, they're in.
They're already in anyway, unless the thing goes to extras. They just needed
Pretty much.
Italy to score 5. Which they did, so.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Jake. Why don't you go ahead and kick off White Sox player performances in the WBC?
Yeah, yesterday was fun. I mean, between Antonacci going way deep, Kyle Teel adding a home run, Mune homered at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which is I still don't think I've watched a single game just because they've been on so early. But they're coming to the USA next, and then also completely outdated. But this is FutureSox. Rock Chalowski also homered yesterday, so good day for that. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been
now, right?
lights out, something like that. He's insane. Sir Anthony Dominguez has looked lights out. So it's been a really impressive showing for these guys that have won. I don't know like how much you buy into it. I will say this, like Antonacci homering off of Nolan McLean, who was one of the top rookie pitchers. Like this is the fun part about the World Baseball Classic. And I know Nick has brought this up multiple times. I don't think that it's a negative to send these guys to the WBC. Like, yeah, it sucks. Teel got hurt and I understand that, but he also got to take real live game reps. These are games that matter to these players. Although Team Italy, I don't think has a single player that was born in Italy, which is it's just kind of a fun little thing there.
Descent.
But yeah, I mean, these are like, yeah, these are right. These are real at bats that I think are getting these guys experiences. And it's good to see them kind of show off in these factions. Now, Mune is kind of a weird one just because that pool is generally weaker than the others. So I'll be interested to see what happens, when Mune comes back over. It's funny. David Barista asked, "How Italian do you actually have to be?" That was a question. Oh yeah, I forgot Curtis Mead. My bad. Mead also having a very good pull play. So
Hit
to
a
answer David
monster
Barista's
bomb the other day.
question, yeah. Um, to answer Barista's question, so Teel gets hurt, and so Team Italy needs a catcher, and they're like going through MLB players trying to see if their heritage has enough Italian. I'm not even kidding. This was a real
Yes,
thing that
I
was
saw
reported
that.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out like if you're Italian enough to play in the WBC. It was a genuine thing that happened today. So, um, no, it's fun. I think it's good for these guys. I think everybody that got sent over there has done well. It's cool to see a guy like Antonacci hit a home run off of Noel McLean, just because that's a guy who was in Double A last year for the majority of the season and home run off of a big time big leaguer. So. Um, yeah, I don't know how much people are going to buy into it. I think it does matter a little bit more than spring training, but obviously not real MLB at bats, but I'll see how much it translates. I will say for starting pitchers, I think it's a little bit worrisome. Obviously, the Sox don't have any, but there's some evidence out there. I will see what Dominguez looks like coming back, just because pitchers can be kind of weird. But yeah,
Nick, if you paying attention at all to WBC, do you have any standouts that maybe have caught your eye? Some things that you were kind of hoping to see, or maybe not hoping to see. I don't know. Like, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah, it's grown on me. Yeah, I've been paying attention. And, I posted something, just a comment yesterday when Mooner hit the grand slam, and White Sox Nation just went insane. Absolutely insane from one swing in the World Baseball Classic. And I
He's off
think,
the schneid.
in that, that type of energy is good for us and for our fan base. And, I think that, Jacob's point is very valid with pitching. That's something I've always worried about. Is hit your routine as a pitcher, and you're trying to get into a rhythm and stretch yourself out, and then all of a sudden you're in some really competitive games, and you might be thrown in spots that you're not necessarily used to, and you're riding this adrenaline and workload roller coaster. I like when our pitchers are not necessarily involved in the WBC, and I like things being quiet right now, and our pitchers getting the work in, doing what they need to do, and getting naturally stretched out and ramped up. So hey, when White Sox players are doing well, I wonder what the feeling is going from that adrenaline in a World Baseball Classic, and then your team gets bounced or it's over, and you return and you're in Milwaukee in late March, playing in front of how many, or when you come to the South Side after the home opener on April 2nd, there's going to be about 12,000 people in the park, most of April and May. How is that drop off? Because I think there's got to be a lot of self sustaining fuel. Like, you're not going to get it from the fans. In WBC, you're getting it from your team, the moment, the fans, and then you drop off. And so you've got to be able to do that on your own somehow. And I just, hey, Moon was the biggest splash. We're expecting huge things for him. I'm sure there's some stuff on your bingo card about Moon. And that, to me, I hope there's more moments like that. I want there to be excitement around that guy. I want there to be excitement around the White Sox, and he's going to bring that excitement. So I just hope more good things continue to happen for him and anybody else from the Sox organization that are involved.
I want to bring up a comment here from Uncle Ted. He says, "You underestimate the Japanese fans coming." It's been crazy to see like that side of the fan base, and Mune was the player on his team overseas, and not to the levels of Shohei Ohtani, but like there is serious attention in the Japanese market to Mune at Murasaki Marikama. Like it is massive. The coverage that he is getting, he was a huge player over there. And I do think that Uncle Ted can be right. Like there is a ton, and like Brooks Boyer was a big part of this, and getting Mune overseas is like there are a ton of Japanese fans that are going to tune in to April White Sox baseball because of Munetaka Murakami. I don't know how many of them are going to pack the seats, but in
Absolutely.
terms of tuning on,
I agree with you. There will be a lot of eyes on this team, and you can consume baseball in so many different ways than you were back in 2005 when Shingo Takatsu was, on the White Sox. And there was a huge uptick in fans. I mean, you saw banners, you saw signs. I mean, he was a big to-do, Shingo Takatsu, and now you're able to consume it so differently. I think they're going to be, we saw the merchandise was flying off, websites when Mooner signed with the Sox. People from all over the world grabbing White Sox hats. So I absolutely think they will be tuning in. What the attendance is like, we'll see.
Yeah, and I hate to bring up, the North Side team, but I don't know if you guys remember Kosuke Fukudome.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that guy, when he came to the Cubs, it was Kosuke Mania here in Chicago. And there was, so, he played mostly right field for them, right? And when he was out there, there was probably 3 or 4 sections of Asian Americans or Asians visiting from Asia, where I mean there was a huge visible Asian presence there. So I do believe that with Mune Murakami being, I mean he was pretty big in Japan overall. He wasn't just a guy on his team; he was one of the biggest players over there, and in the MPB, like that's a big deal. So I do believe that there's probably going to be an uptick, a large uptick in ticket sales. So, I'm not trying to poo-poo on what Nick was saying, but he's 100% right. Like we all know, when the weather's crap early in the season in Chicago, I mean, outside of the home opener, which even the last couple of years, like home opener, there were still tickets available on day of. Like you could walk up.
Yeah.
You can walk up and buy tickets. And I know they always have a handful that they kind of hold back for day of game, but there were far more than usual, right? I don't suspect that there will be as many available this year, although I don't know if it's going to be a sellout right off the bat, right? Like we've heard in the past for home openers, because Sox fans show up that day. But immediately after that day, in early, late March and early April, this year it'll be early April because it's not until the second that they actually get to come home, starting on the road. But immediately after that first weekend, like we've seen a dip down to like below 8,000 in that stadium from time to time early on, because the weather just sucks and nobody wants to be out there, and they're playing a lot of like day games.
A lot of day games. A lot of day games
that time of year. So like you're not going to get people who are willing to take off work to go sit in a freezing cold stadium where it might be misty and rainy and gray still, and there's not a lot of sunlight. So let's just hope that some of that following comes along with them and gives us a boost, because like Jacob mentions, Brooke Boyer was a big part of bringing him over here, and I was at the 108, the 108 after party after Sox Fest. Well, Brooks was there and he talked about the reasons why, and that kind of thing, having that market is actually big monetarily for the team. I don't think people understand there are overseas TV contracts that the White Sox will have part of the share in. There's going to be a ton of, merchandise sales, the ticket sales, everything kind of adds up. And as that money adds up, it allows them to be able to go to Jerry Reinsdorf next offseason and say, okay, we made such and such more money. Can we go sign maybe a guy, instead of paying a guy $6 million for a position? Can we give this guy 12, 15, 18, 20 $1 million a year for 2 or 3 years and kind of bring things back around? And hopefully that cycle continues to where you're now improving year over year, and we're not having these conversations about how bad the payroll is. in the future, and that's everything withstanding the new CBA, obviously. But so, anything else you guys wanted to hit on WBC wise?
Not really. I mean, Antonacci's kind of a fun topic right now just because he's mashing baseballs. But that whole pipe dream was shot down today by Chris Getz.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there goes
he's
that.
not
He'll
making
be
he's
up
not
though.
making the team out of camp, but he will at some
Yeah.
point this season be on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, general consensus around Future Sox is it might be sooner rather than later. Just the way he's showing out, he might be next man up when it
You know,
comes
first,
time.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, that was it. He might be
All right.
next man up. When it comes to that time,
Yeah.
depending on what the need is.
For someone who's like struggled with power in the minors, and I shouldn't say struggled, he has 5 career minor league home runs though. Him hitting in Charlotte after like this kind of
What a
power surge
confidence!
he's had in Arizona, and now the WBC in the spring, he might put out some pretty wonky home run numbers in Charlotte. That park is insane to hit at. So I'll be kind of interested to see what the power numbers look like for his like whatever first month in Charlotte. I would assume he starts in Charlotte. Just kind of making a bold assumption there, but I cannot see them sending him back to Birmingham.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, and again, I'm going to use the same line I've been using for years. Charlotte's like, you go out there if you've got any kind of a bat to ball skill, it's like hitting a golf ball with an aluminum baseball bat down there. And I mean, that's great for hitters. It'll do a lot for your confidence. But sometimes what ends up happening too is we see the opposite happen is you get brought up to the MLB club and expect that to just be the norm, and it's not the case. Thankfully for the White Sox, we do play in a fairly hitter friendly ballpark. So, especially guys who like to go out towards right field. So I think Sam will be okay, and like I said, I think there's a good chance that when it comes to position players, he might be first man up, just depending on what the need is. Uh, you know, with Kyle Teel going down today, I think that pretty much solidifies the fact that Lenine Sosa is going to get a lot more at bats early on in the season. So that just leaves you with what kind of outfield depth do you have? And Sam isn't going to be a guy that you're typically going to see play outfield. So uh, if there was an issue there, he might not be first man up. But if there's any opportunity to come up in the infield, I think he would be it. So
Yeah, it's kind of
um,
bizarre because I think. Sorry, cut you off again.
no, God,
I
no,
think
no,
the
you're good.
Teel injury, oddly enough, helped Everson Pereira, which is kind of bizarre because Pereira's obviously an outfielder and Teal's a catcher. But um, I think that'll allow Benny to play more DH and Pereira to play more in the corners of the outfield, wherever that is. So
Yeah. So do you think Pereira is a shoe in to make the roster now?
no, but I think he's got a better chance than he did a couple days ago. I mean, what's the? They only have to carry 2 catchers now, so then you have 3 open. Um, Toss said he's had a great spring. He's had like what 3 games. I mean, I'm not. He has had a good spring, but I mean, you'll have Lenine Sosa, you'll have Brooks Baldwin on the bench, and you also have Curtis Mead, and then a catcher. So maybe not Pereira. I guess still has work to do to make the roster, but yeah, I don't know. I guess he's competing with Baldwin, but we'll see.
All right. All right. Well, I mean, I think that I think that's awesome that they're having competition and having guys that literally look competent enough to have we're not having competition with quad A players, right? I saw that look. What are we looking at, Jake? Are we looking
No,
at
like,
comments or?
Toss said he said he was talking about Braden, and I was talking about Everson. So
Oh,
miscommunication there.
gotcha,
But
gotcha. No, but I mean the fact that we're actually having conversations about competition about guys we think can be part of the future and over the competition of which 3 quad A players are going to fill this one hole. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
any thoughts on that, Nick?
I mean, you know, everybody wants superstars. Of course, you want guys that are high caliber. They're obviously at the top of their class, free agency class. They're the top of their position. You want the studs, but that doesn't necessarily field an amazing team always. You can have more than serviceable guys that are professionals. They're good at their position. Okay, they're not going to wow you when you fill out that lineup card, but the depth that we have is something I haven't seen in several years. What Chris Getz has done and able to bring guys in and we'll see how things shake out. Some of these guys that were brought in maybe are the strings are cut and they're not going to be part of the depth, but I've liked I've liked the camp that they've put together and the people that they have eyes on. I think there's some healthy competition, and to your point, it's not just warm bodies. And look, the bar has been low. The bar has been really low for the Sox, but I think they are trending in the right direction. And you saw at the end of last season, you saw in September, and you've read the quotes. This team did not want to stop playing. This team was disappointed that they just kind of ran out of time. They wished the season was about another month because the way they were going. To take that core, return them, and then bring in some guys that you're asking them to play positions that are pretty much their position. We're not trying to do a Sheets situation or a Vaughn situation or play guys completely out of position and really sell us on that. That they've put the work in and they're going to transform to this position. No, we've got guys that actually these are their positions, and it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, to piggyback off that a little bit, like I think the success of guys like Brooks Baldwin, Sam Antonacci, like those are huge for an organization to be able to turn a 12th round pick. And I remember when like Brooks Baldwin was coming up, there were some lofty expectations, and everybody was like Lurie Garcia, and that's great. Like if you can draft a guy in the 12th round and he could become Lurie Garcia, that's huge for an organization. It's the issue of like they were spending $15 million on Lurie Garcia.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they found Antonacci. He was an 8th round pick. They're doing a better job of finding depth with late round picks, and also bringing in former top 100 prospects, Pereira, Mead, these guys to not only give them a second chance, but also provide a buffer of depth. That yeah, as Nick was saying, like the Sox haven't had this much depth in a while. Even the 21 team, like there just hasn't been a lot of this depth, and they think they finally have it.
You didn't want to bring up Jared Kelnick when you brought up former top 100 prospects?
He was on a whatever. He's hitting the ball better though. I don't know if he's gonna.
Yeah, recently he's kind of found something. I don't know if he makes a team, but he's found something for sure.
If not, he starts here in Charlotte, so he'll be there in case someone gets hurt. So
yeah, no, and it's like it's just fun to be able to have these conversations and actually feel good about the players you're talking about, whether or not they make the opening day lineup coming out this year. Just the fact that we know that they're coming, and some of them might be coming fairly soon. Whether it's Sam Antonacci, whether it's Braden Montgomery, you do have the Chase Mydross who are still young, and the Miguel Vargas, who everybody's looking to, for that second step after last year taking a step and now this year taking a step, which, I mean, if these guys can perform, it's awesome. They're just good problems to have when you're trying to figure out which one's going to be the better player, because it just means that we have at least guys that are, like Nick said, maybe not superstars, but they're competent. And we've had so much incompetence over, such a long period of time and so many holes that needed filling. Excuse me.
Yeah. And I would say also they don't know any better, and talking to, guys at Sox Fest, Anthony Kay, and I had an opportunity to talk with him and Len Casper and, guys that are Janish, the guys that are in the organization that I do believe that this organization is finally there's a running thread. Things are streamlined. We don't have these crazy, two opinions in Hahn and Williams. And say what you will about Getz and whether he should even be in the position he is. I do believe you're getting one direction, and he is. This is how it is top to bottom in this organization. And Anthony Kay comes in, which I'm excited about, and he's like, I've been meeting these guys for the first time here at Soxus. Boy, they are so thick. They are so tight with one another. They are just excited to play ball, excited to play for one another. And they'll be damned if some other organization is going to look down at them and say, you're not supposed to be good. Your time is not, come yet. Well, who are you to say that? And that's the attitude that I like to see. I'm a big chemistry guy. I'm a big guy on just, mojo. And when guys get rolling and they feed off of each other, I like that attitude of, hey, stop giving me this timeline. I'll show up when I show up. And maybe for some of these guys, it is their time. And we see some guys pop off the pages, so to speak, this season.
So, sounds like Sir Anthony Dominguez is pitching again for the Dominican Republic. I don't know what's going on, Wolf. I'm not watching the game, but it sounds like Pasquatch is doing some things. So, good for Team Italy. Not so good for White Sox fans who have to watch him in the division unless he got moved.
Yeah.
By the way, Sam is taking at bats too. Sorry, totally cut you off for the third time tonight.
No, you're good. You're good. I do it to you constantly, and Nick will tell you. I've been a work in progress of trying not to step on my co-hosts for a while, and I think I've gotten much better at it. But it happens from time to time. It's all good. I was asking, do we know is Vinny Pasquantino still?
He's with the Royals. He was traded, but never got moved.
Okay, that's why I was asking, because there was talk of him going, but I wasn't sure. I don't know, man. We're almost an hour in here, dude, and we have a reason. This isn't the only reason. I shouldn't say this, but one of the reasons Nick is here is, for one, we've missed Nick. Nick did take some time off for a while from podcasting, but it's good to see him back. And it's awesome to have him back here on FutureSox. But we also wanted to bring Nick in to give him an opportunity to make an addition to the Hot Takes and Heaters 2026 White Sox bingo card. I don't know how many people here in the chat had heard, but I did put out a tweet earlier today saying that there would be many new additions revealed today, but I'm going to go ahead and give Nick an opportunity to give us his before I reveal those, because quite honestly and quite frankly, I feel like our featured guests should take priority over any of the other folks, and I'm just hoping that he doesn't have something picked that maybe somebody else does, but we're going to take his first.
Okay.
So really quickly, just so everybody, quick reminder, I should say, on how this works. For those of you who maybe don't know, but this bingo card was Jacob's idea last year. We didn't get into it. I pushed it this year. He's like, yeah, let's go for it. And basically what we're looking for is like any other bingo card. You're trying to, hit a bingo, fill it up, maybe get a blackout. But the idea is to bring in some of our friends and some of our more prominent White Sox Twitter folks to add to this bingo card. It could be anything from funny to serious to a feat on the field to something in the booth to something happening off the field, whatever it may be, something that White Sox Twitter can follow along with and be fun. But the idea is that hopefully we'll take some squares off of this thing as the season goes on and be able to talk about it when they do. So, without further ado, Mr. Murawski, the man with the golden pipes, the broadcaster himself. Why don't you go ahead and give us your addition to the card?
Okay. As you were talking and reminding me about our season together, that was the season when Schriffen growled and did the Panther growl. So if you're always looking to fill just empty squares, you can always put in a Schriffen Panther growl. If we'll get another one of those, even though Luis Robert Jr. is not around, he might growl anyway. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen with Schriffen.
I spoke to John face to face recently, and he said that would not be a thing. So
Okay. All right. So mine, and I look, I'm kind of bullish on this team. And I don't want to get too into, final what the final win loss total is going to be. And I do feel that they're going to be competitive. They're going to surprise people. I think they're going to gel. You're going to see, obviously, more new faces come up with this team, and I think they're going to make an impact, especially from the pitching dynamic. But I had to go back a couple of years. I had to go back to 2023 because it hasn't happened since 2023, May of 2023. I am going to say that there is going to be a month, not in April or October. I'm talking about a month where they play 25 to 30 games. They're going to have a winning record throughout the season. 1 month throughout the season. It's going
one calendar month.
one calendar month. It hasn't happened since May 2023, where they were like 15 and 14. So I am saying in the year of 2026, we are going to get back into the win column in terms of monthly records, and you will see that. Dare I say it's going to happen before the All-Star break? I will. Well, you can even put that down if you want. Sox will have a winning month of baseball before the All-Star break.
This was one that I was going to do. I will put that out. Not like actually do, but like I had this idea. I think it's a fantastic pick.
Yeah, that's honestly one of my favorite squares we have as of right now. So much appreciated, Nick. That's pretty awesome stuff.
And you could even put it, you could put it a couple times in the board because it might hit twice, but one square is probably enough. But, I didn't want to get into a whole, like, well, what's the ending, going to be? It's just, if you think of it in increments, I think you're going to see they're going to have a positive month. They absolutely will.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
They went 12 and 13 in July last year.
So they did, yes.
It's definitely a possibility.
They came really close, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. If we can get a month of baseball where they're over 500, I mean, honestly, I think it's a good possibility that it happens. I really do. So, I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to
it. Jeff, in the chat right there. Jeff, I agree with you, buddy. I looked at July, and I was like, well, maybe it's July. But yeah, I saw all the opponents in July, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. I'm thinking earlier.
Yeah, it could be tough, but I don't know. July is also the month where you get that little bit of a break. Maybe we'll have a couple of White Sox that go away on that break. I know that was one of the squares that's on the bingo card right now, having multiple All-Stars come from the White Sox.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I added one. What was it It was last week I added one. But you know what? It's my show and it's my partner's bingo card idea, and I'm going to add a second one for myself today because I can. And my first one was an accountability square, just because I want to see this happen. I think it'd be fun to watch on the broadcast. It's also maybe it's a ploy to get one or both of these guys to participate in this bingo card. If not this year, maybe next year. But my first square last week was during last year's 108 bobblehead night. Chuck Garfien and Ozzie Guillen did say that they would love to broadcast from Section 108 time this year. So I'm gonna hold them to that, just because I think it'd be fun to see. But again, I might be using that as a ploy to help ourselves as well. But my actual more serious White Sox related square is going to be back to back to back home runs
Mm,
in a game for the White Sox here,
that's a
at
good
least
one.
once.
That's a good one.
So, I feel like with with Mooney, with Colson, with Kyle Teel or Edgar Caro in the lineup, maybe even Benintendi,
Yeah, Benny.
um, Vargas. Like there's a Sosa. There's a plethora of guys that when we see how Will has this lineup constructed, I think there's an opportunity to see guys go back to back to back. So that's going to be my more White Sox series related squared edition.
I like it.
Jake, were
See,
you ready to give us yours, or were you going to hold off?
I am ready tonight if you would like.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. So I pondered over his, and I thought that was a good one. I'm glad I didn't take it. But it is the Hot Takes and Heaters show, and we have a specific player that we all incredibly enjoy on the show. Um, Goes by the name of Lenine Sosa, and I really like Lenine Sosa. But you know what Lenine Sosa doesn't do? Doesn't walk. So mine is Lenine Sosa walks twice, just 2 walks in a game. I don't think he did it at all last year.
Oh,
I like my odds a little bit more with Teel getting hurt. I think that's going to open up some opportunities for him to get DH spots. And I think he's been working on in the offseason. Lenine Sosa, 2 walks, 1 game.
Right on. I can dig it, and I think you might actually get that this year because I do believe that it was I do believe it's actually a goal of his. I remember reading earlier, way earlier in the off season, and then just recently it came out where he was like saying, "No, I'm going to be more aggressive than I was before," and I
don't
was
say
like,
that now.
"Whoa, wait a minute." But yeah, and I think what he really meant was he was just going to attack pitches that he could hit. It's been talked about over and over again that Lenny Sosa is a very good hitter with 2 strikes and doesn't, shorten his swing and still finds ways to put balls in play. So I think that's what he meant was like, maybe getting some of the earlier in an at bat attack swings on pitches that are, hittable in the zone. So, but yeah, I think he's going to look to improve his on base percentage. And the only way he's going to be able to do that is if he walks every now and again. So on base percentage means a boost in his OPS and his OPS plus, and that means a boost in any kind of upcoming contract. I think it would behoove him. So I dig it, man. I dig it very much.
Can we try to show this thing on stream? Do you know if it'll...
I don't have it downloaded to the media to be
Let
able
me
to
see
put
if
it
this
up.
works. If it doesn't work and I mess everything up, we're already an hour into this thing, and we'll just blow it up. How about that?
That's fine.
right.
I mean, if it works, it works. If it doesn't,
Ooh.
it doesn't. All right. Jacob is sharing
you
his screen. Let me see.
Oh, here we go.
Boom.
Look at that.
All right. So
Some of the stuff needs to be straightened out, but
yeah, we'll figure it out. But there you go. There is the current 2026 Hot Takes and Heaters bingo card. Did you get Nick's added in there?
I did, top right.
wow. Look at
Oh.
you, Jake.
There it is.
Whew.
So as it stands right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right? 9 squares left. 2,
Yeah,
4,
C.
6, 8, 9. Right on.
Correct.
All right.
You know what you guys got to do with this, and I don't want to take over this operation, but you need to take this card when it gets filled up. You need to get these printed and laminated, and you've got to scramble up, the boxes so everybody's got a different card. You got to be handing them out on, in lot B on opening.
There you go.
That would be really fun to play this kind of at home, and try to be filling this thing up as the season goes on.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have time to work on that now. My printer is my printer's down, and unfortunately, Jacob's all the way in Taylorville, Illinois. But I might be able to figure something out.
I
But
can always
yeah,
give it to you on I'll be up there Sunday. I'll be in Milwaukee on Sunday. So not
Oh,
this Sunday, obviously, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, you wanna get a
I don't know if I have
couple
a
hundred of those.
laminator though.
I mean, to be honest with you, we could just put it on paper and let people shove it in their pocket, however they get it in.
It just
It's just Chicago, man. We adapt and overcome.
yeah. I think it'd be kind of a cool. I'd like to follow along and see if you can get who can get a bingo on that.
Here, Jake, we got another one for. We got to get a couple suggestions here. We gotta get you to write them down. We'll add them to the poll after we get everybody else's filled in here. But Toss says Rock sees time in September. Well, we got to get Rock drafted first.
Wow.
And man, there's been a lot of talk about Justin LeBron here lately. And the
Honestly,
numbers being similar, and him playing maybe more positions than Rock. There's some viable talk. Although, in my opinion, it's still Rock. But go
the
ahead, Jake.
free
What were you gonna
space
say?
would just be Rock gets drafted. There's a free space.
Yeah.
Although maybe it's not free.
I mean, we leave it free, and we just kind of throw that in there. That's just the Rock space. It's the Rock hard space. But
How about Jose Contreras' kid striking out like a bunch of USA hitters?
17 years
jam.
old, dude.
Yeah.
Gets judged to hit into a double play. Like, all
Wicked.
right, here's another one.
I did take down David Rockus. I had that one.
You got David Rockus. Jamie Lewis says White Sox need an ABS review but are out of challenges.
That's a good one.
That's actually, I mean, I was thinking more positive this year because we're on a positive upswing, but that is such a White Sox. It would be like the White Sox. Let me try that again. The White Soxiest of White Sox things for 2026. We can throw that in the pool for the poll for sure.
The issue is, what does need a challenge mean? Is it just any pitch that misses while they're out of challenges? Or is it like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and there's a critical call and they can't call it?
Yeah.
That's the only issue I have with that one. Anyway.
Yeah. No, maybe it's one of those ones where they don't have any left and somebody goes to the helmet and they're like, no, you can't. You're out of challenges.
Just both challenges in the same at bat.
Oh, wow. JT coming at you. I don't know, man. Southside Jeff T throwing, like, let's not get too dirty here. But I don't know, man. I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. I know Nick is a very busy man. Back to molding the youth of the America, and it's probably got an early day ahead of him tomorrow. So,
you know what? It just doesn't stop. But this was awesome, guys. Man,
it's great to have you back, dude.
This was a treat. I love talking White Sox baseball. It's just you're rubbing shoulders with like-minded.
One more, just for you, by the way.
Oh, you have not disappointed, sir. I hope that this season brings more, heaters for enjoyment instead of stress, because I need to have you last throughout this season here and beyond.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. We really appreciate you coming on. So with that being said, I think it's time for our final segment of the show. It is the final segment every week where we give our hot takes and heaters. And again, for those of you who don't understand, because apparently it came into question when Beefloaf was on last week. He wasn't sure what hot takes and heaters were. He knew what a hot take was. He didn't sure what a heater was, but a heater's, anybody you think is hot right now, is on a roll. Anybody you want to give a shout out to for whatever that reason may be. So, Nick, do you have a hot take or a heater or both for us this week?
You circle back to me. All right, let me.
I caught you off guard. I got you on the bingo card and didn't give you the opportunity for a hot take or a heater.
Yeah.
How about you, Jake?
My hot take is negative, and I apologize for that. Neither of the Rule of Five guys make the roster. both of them miss.
Yeah, it's
I
unfortunate,
have
but you're
been
probably right.
unimpressed. So, and somebody was asking about the bullpen, and I think like Tyler Gilbert's currently on the outside looking in, and they have like some other decent bullpen arms. I just don't think they're gonna haul around a Rule of 5 all year. I didn't hate the strategy. I thought it was decent, some upside guys, but yeah.
All right. I am gonna, and I hope I'm not stepping on Nick's toes here, but I'm gonna go with the heater. Man, Sam Antonacci doing Sam Antonacci things in the WBC. I know. Oh, and you know what? We'll let Nick sign out after this if he wants to get out. But I forgot to. No, we revealed all the cards. Never mind. We revealed it. It'll be out there. We won't have to do it on the show. I'll announce the rest of the squares. My apologies. But yeah, Sam Antonacci is my guy that's on a heater right now. Looking good. Can't wait to see him on the south side eventually.
Shout out to 217.
Hey, here you go.
Yeah, look, he might not be as hot as he was, but I think the heater is Edgar Caro. There was so much hype, at least in terms of what he was doing with Driveline and the work that he was putting in, and the pressure he was kind of putting on himself, and he's been living up to it. And I think you're going to see him reach a next level with this Teel injury. He's been my guy for a while, and he's got a cannon for an arm, and I love what he's doing with the bat, and he's gonna step up even further.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I kind of agree. And he was on a tear for a while there. Again, looking forward to good baseball.
Yes,
Is really
yes.
what it all comes down to. The upswing, I think, is real. The energy is real. The clubhouse, as we talked about earlier, Nick brought it up. It seems like there's not cliques anymore. These guys are there for each other. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of camaraderie. Guys just seem to be clicking and ready to fire on all cylinders. So we'll be saying Happy New Year soon.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
all right. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say thank you guys. Jake, really great talking Sox with you for the first time. And Danny, this is like old times, buddy. It's been a real treat.
Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
it was a pleasure. It was our pleasure, honestly. Real quick, Nick, before we let you go,
Yep.
and before we sign out here, just let everybody know where they can find you and remind them, what you've got going on and what you got coming up.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. X is a little bit kind of obsolete during the off season. I try to duck in as much as possible. During the season, I try to get in and mix it up. But at Nick_GGTB, and the Good Guys Talk Back, White Sox podcast, available everywhere. Subscribe, like the YouTube channel. Right now, we are on Sunday nights, 9:15, and this Sunday, March 15th, we're now weekly throughout the rest of the season. So it's just a podcast that I get to do with my best friend. I've known her for 25 years. We went to college and did broadcasting together, and it's just a joy to be able to talk Sox with him. And other people are kind enough to jump in and mix it up with us, and that's good too. So Good Guys Talk Back Sunday nights. That's where I'll be at this season.
Right on. And shout out to your partner,
Yeah,
Pat Hester.
Yeah.
Always good talking with him. Just man, stand up baseball guy, dude, knows his
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Always a good listen. So if you guys get an opportunity to check out the Good Guys Talk Back show, I highly recommend it. Again, thank you, Nick. It's been a pleasure having you here. So for those of you who don't know, we are here, Hot Takes and Heaters, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We will be back next Wednesday, the 18th. Unfortunately, I had some scheduling snafus come up recently, so I had a guest lined up. I'm working on getting another one currently, but stay on the lookout for that. I'll put something up on Twitter as soon as I figure that out. But we will be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. as far as anything other than that, we will be getting that the bingo card out shortly. Looks like we lost Nick, but glad we at least got to get him out of here before we did. Give him his goodbyes and give him his flowers. But yeah, it's been awesome. We love our chat. Big shout out to you guys. Always a big shout out to our supporters and our followers. Quick reminder, if you are here and you catch any of our Future Sox shows live, whether it's us, the original Future Sox podcast, or the Roundup, super chats are open. We understand if you cannot support us financially with super chats, just do us a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell a friend, let them know. Future Sox has got all your prospect wants and needs and information that you could possibly have. And Jake and I are here to pick up where the prospects leave off and go into the MLB. So we'll be covering the MLB team for the rest of the season. If you like our written content, be on the lookout for some. We're going to have our top 30 list coming out here shortly, sometime probably within the next week, maybe before the end of this week. So be on the lookout for that. You'll find our written content and our exclusive content at www.futuresox.net. If you want the exclusive content, it comes for just a very cheap $2 a month Patreon donation. And again, we'll be here next Wednesday. We appreciate all of you. We love you guys. For my co-host, Jacob Thome, at jthome21 on Twitter/X. My name is Danny Miller. Danny Miller FS at Twitter/X. We love you guys. As always, go White Sox.